Hello, and welcome to the Sleeper Science channel. Tonight, we gently drift into the strange and beautiful realm of language. The hidden codes that connect minds across space and time, and even between entirely different species. Language is far more than just words. It is movement. It is feeling. It is a countless array of subtle signals that we are only beginning to understand. It is every remarkable way living beings share truth, ideas, compassion, and identity. Across the animal kingdom, there exist far more forms of communication than you might ever imagine. You will hear of stories carried through air and water, signals sent through darkness, songs that evolve with the seasons, and patterns that ripple through entire communities. Language is not simply something we learn. It is something we grow into, something we express with the world around us in ways we rarely notice. If you enjoy these quiet journeys, I invite you to like, subscribe, or leave a gentle thought below. It helps others find their way here as well, one sleepy mind at a time. But for now, breathe softly, let your eyes grow heavy, and allow yourself to slowly drift towards sleep. Let us begin. Human language may be the most complex behavior on Earth. It weaves together sound, memory, imagination, and social awareness into a single seamless act that feels effortless from within. When you speak, you are selecting from tens of thousands of words stored in your mind. You arrange them according to invisible rules you were never formally taught, and you adapt them instantly to another person's reactions. At the same time, your tongue, lips, lungs, and vocal folds coordinate in intricate patterns measured in fractions of a second. Behind all of this, networks across your brain activate to track meaning, intention, emotion, and subtle social nuance. From simple vibrations in the air, listeners reconstruct entire scenes, invisible ideas, and even unreal worlds that did not exist before you described them. No other known behavior combines so many layers of structure, creativity, and coordination into something that can unfold within a single breath. Some animals also use structures that resemble grammar to communicate. In several species, calls and signals are not random sounds strung together. Instead, they follow patterns that resemble a basic form of syntax. Certain monkeys, for example, combine specific alarm calls in fixed sequences to shift meaning, transforming a simple warning into something closer to a phrase that suggests both the type of danger and its urgency. Some songbirds arrange motifs into sequences that follow consistent positional rules, where a particular note can only appear at the beginning or only at the end of a song. These patterns are learned rather than instinctive, which means young animals must listen, practice, and refine their sequences over time. The result is a communication system that is not merely a list of calls pointing to objects, but a flexible set of building blocks. It suggests that the instinct to organize sound into structure is not uniquely human, even if our own grammars are far more complex. Babies begin to understand the rhythm of speech long before they know any words. Long before they can say even a simple sound, infants are already deeply attuned to the musical flow of the language around them. They spend months surrounded by muffled voices in the womb, absorbing the rise and fall of pitch, the gentle pulsing of syllables, and the pauses that separate phrases. After birth, they turn their heads toward voices that match the rhythm of their native language, and they relax more easily when hearing familiar patterns.
Caregivers naturally exaggerate these rhythms when speaking to babies, stretching vowels, softening consonants, and adding a melodic quality that helps small minds break the stream of sound into meaningful pieces. Even without vocabulary, infants can sense where one phrase ends and another begins. They can distinguish between language families simply through cadence alone. By the time the first clear word appears, the foundation has already been quietly built. Formed through months of listening to the music of speech, whales sing songs that gradually evolve over time. In the open ocean, some whales produce long, intricate sequences of moans, trills, and deep, resonant tones that can last for many minutes and repeat in precise patterns. Within a region, males often share a common song, as if they belong to a vast, drifting choir. Yet this song is not fixed. Over weeks and months, small variations begin to appear. A new phrase here, a subtle modification there. If these changes spread, other whales adopt them, and the shared song slowly transforms its shape. Eventually, an entire population may abandon an older melody in favor of a new one that has traveled across thousands of kilometers of ocean. These changes do not follow genetic evolution, but cultural transmission. They spread through learning rather than inheritance. The ocean becomes not only a medium for sound, but a space for evolving traditions, where a chorus of giants continuously edits and reshapes its own music. Some birds learn distinct dialects from those around them. In many songbird species, the melodies that fill forests or city parks are not purely instinctive. Young birds listen closely to the adults nearby and imitate their patterns during a sensitive period of development. If a bird grows up in one valley, its song may follow a particular style, with characteristic turns in pitch or timing. In another valley, the same species might favor a slightly different variation.
These geographic differences become recognizable dialects, like audible maps of where a bird was raised. Birds that move into new territories may carry their early songs with them, sometimes blending them with local variations. Over time, neighboring groups can develop stable regional identities based entirely on sound. For birds, these dialects are not just decorative. They can influence mate choice, social bonding, and territorial disputes, turning simple song into a marker of belonging and shared history. Your brain predicts words before you even hear them. During conversation, you are never passively waiting for sound to arrive. Neural activity shows that the brain constantly anticipates what is likely to come next. As someone begins speaking, your mind narrows down possible continuations based on context, experience, and knowledge of the world. If a familiar phrase is unfolding, your auditory and motor systems quietly prepare for the final word before it is spoken.
When that expected word arrives, processing becomes faster and more efficient, freeing your mind to focus on tone, emotion, or facial expression. If something unexpected appears instead, your brain briefly registers surprise and quickly updates its internal model. This predictive dance happens so rapidly that you rarely notice it, yet it shapes the smooth, flowing experience of understanding. Language comprehension is not simply reacting to sound. It is an ongoing process of prediction and correction that unfolds with every sentence you hear. Bees use dance to share maps of the world. Inside the darkness of a hive, forager bees return from their journeys carrying more than nectar. On the vertical surface of the honeycomb, they perform a looping motion known as the waggle dance. The angle of the waggle phase relative to gravity reflects the direction of a food source in relation to the sun. The duration of the movement indicates distance.
Other bees gather close, sensing vibrations through their legs and antennae, building a mental image of a place they have never seen. Additional details such as temperature, energy, and accompanying sounds provide further information about quality and urgency. This system allows the colony to concentrate effort on the richest sources of food, without each individual needing to explore randomly. It connects the hidden interior of the hive with the ever-changing patterns of light, landscape, and season outside. Within these small arcs and vibrations, a form of collective navigation becomes visible. Humans can understand speech even when much of it is missing. Everyday listening conditions are far from perfect. Voices echo in crowded spaces, traffic hums in the background, and conversations overlap and blur together. Yet you rarely feel as though you are piecing together a broken signal. Your auditory system uses multiple strategies at once to fill in the gaps. It tracks general patterns of loudness and pitch, senses the rough structure of syllables, and relies heavily on your knowledge of language and common phrases. Even when noise hides important sounds, higher brain regions infer what must have been said by comparing incoming fragments with expectations. Listeners also unconsciously watch lips and facial movements, gathering additional cues to refine meaning. The result is a seamless experience of speech, even when the actual sound is incomplete. Your perception of conversation is built not on perfect input, but on intelligent reconstruction. Elephants communicate through vibrations that travel across the ground. These massive animals do not rely only on vocal calls carried through the air. They also produce low-frequency rumbles that move as seismic waves through soil and rock. Sensitive receptors in their feet and trunks allow them to detect these vibrations over great distances. A herd may sense distant thunder, approaching vehicles, or the calls of other elephants long before anything becomes visible. These signals help coordinate movement, warn of danger, and maintain connection between scattered groups. Because vibrations behave differently depending on terrain and moisture, elephants may learn the unique acoustic qualities of their home environment. What appears to us as a quiet landscape can, in reality, be filled with hidden conversations flowing beneath the surface. Some languages have no words for left or right. In certain cultures, people navigate using fixed directions tied to the environment,
rather than their own bodies. Instead of saying something is to your left, a speaker might say it is to the north of your hand or toward the seaside of the table. Children raised in these systems develop a remarkable sense of orientation. They constantly update their awareness of direction, even indoors or in unfamiliar places. Conversation becomes an ongoing act of mapping the world. Speakers often remain aware of the sun's path and the layout of landmarks without conscious effort. This way of speaking appears to influence thought itself. People who use these systems often perform better on spatial reasoning tasks, as if their language has trained their attention to align with geography. A simple shift in words can reshape how space is experienced. Octopuses communicate through changing colors. Their skin acts as a living canvas made of pigment cells and light-reflecting structures that can shift instantly. With these tools, an octopus can send waves of color across its body, patterns that ripple like sand or spread like ink in water. These displays are not only for camouflage, they also serve as signals to other octopuses, especially during close interactions. Color, posture, and touch combine into a layered form of communication. A sudden bright flash may signal dominance, while softer patterns may express curiosity or calm. During mating, sequences of changing hues help individuals negotiate distance and intention. Because octopuses experience the world through both touch and sight, their signals blend visual patterns with subtle arm movements and contact with the seafloor. Communication becomes a fluid, multidimensional system among the most complex found in the animal world. There are languages that are spoken only at night. In some cultures, certain forms of speech are reserved for the hours after sunset, when darkness softens the world and life becomes quieter and more reflective. These night languages often arise in places where daytime activities require a different style of communication than evening rituals or storytelling. In the dark, sound travels differently, and people naturally shift towards softer tones and slower rhythms that match the surrounding stillness. Some of these languages are used for sacred stories, believed to hold greater meaning when spoken beneath the stars. Others serve a practical purpose, allowing quiet conversations without disturbing sleeping households. They may alter vocabulary, rhythm, and even grammar, creating a distinct experience that feels separate from daytime speech. As morning returns, speakers gently transition back to their usual language, leaving night speech to rest until evening falls again. Dolphins call each other by unique signature whistles. Within a group, each dolphin develops a distinct whistle that functions much like a personal name. These whistles are shaped early in life, influenced by family sounds, but unique enough to identify each individual. When dolphins become separated, they often repeat these signature whistles to reconnect or confirm location. Other dolphins can imitate a companion's whistle to attract attention, showing a remarkable level of social awareness. Because sound travels efficiently underwater, these calls can travel long distances, helping groups stay connected even in murky or dim environments. Over time, dolphins learn to recognize many individuals by their whistles, not just close family members. Their world becomes a network of identities carried through moving water, where each sound reflects a lasting social bond. You can hear a smile in someone's voice. Human speech carries subtle acoustic signals that reveal emotion even without visual cues. When a person smiles, small changes occur in the shape of the mouth, the tension of facial muscles, and the openness of the throat. These changes brighten the sound, adding warmth that listeners interpret almost instantly. Even during a phone call, when no face is visible, you can often sense when someone is happy or amused. Infants respond to these tonal differences as well, calming when they hear gentle, positive voices. These signals appear across cultures, suggesting that the connection between facial expression and vocal tone is deeply rooted in human biology. A smile reshapes airflow and resonance in ways the brain recognizes automatically, forming a quiet bridge between people. Some languages are spoken entirely through whistles. In certain mountainous or forested regions, communities have developed fully functional systems of communication based only on melodic whistling. These are not simple signals, but complete languages that mirror the rhythm and structure of spoken speech. They translate complex ideas into tones that can travel across valleys or dense vegetation. People can discuss daily life, coordinate work, or send messages over great distances without raising their voices. Because whistles carry farther than speech, they allow communication where ordinary conversation would fail. Learning such a language requires the ability to reshape words into musical contours that preserve meaning even without consonants or vowels. To outsiders, they may sound like songs, but they carry precise and detailed information. Plants respond to vibrations and may distinguish different types of sound. Though they have no ears or voices, plants are not silent participants in their environment. Their tissues can detect vibrations traveling through air or soil, allowing them to respond in ways that support survival. Gentle vibrations similar to the buzzing of pollinating insects can trigger flowers to release more pollen. In contrast, vibrations caused by chewing insects can activate chemical defenses, strengthening leaves before damage spreads. Some plants appear capable of distinguishing between these different sources, adjusting their responses accordingly. Even roots can change their direction of growth when exposed to certain vibration patterns, as if mapping the acoustic qualities of the soil. These processes unfold slowly, yet they reveal that plants perceive far more than was once believed. Prairie dogs produce calls that describe detailed features of predators. In the open grasslands where they live, danger can come from many directions. Their vocalizations go far beyond simple alarm signals. Calls vary depending on the type of predator, its size, its speed, and even its color. Different patterns are used for hawks, foxes, or unfamiliar human figures. Members of the colony respond accordingly, choosing escape strategies that match the specific threat. Young prairie dogs learn this system by listening to adults and practicing their own calls as they grow. The result is a communication network that functions almost like a spoken description of the outside world. Some human cultures use gesture as a complete language system. In certain communities, communication through movement is not just an addition to speech, but a fully developed linguistic tradition. These systems often emerge in environments where silence is important, where visibility across distance is useful, or where multiple spoken languages coexist. Gesture-based languages contain structured rules, vocabulary, and expressive depth equal to spoken language. People can describe events, express emotion, negotiate, and share knowledge entirely through movement. Because they rely on sight rather than sound, these languages unfold through sweeping motions or subtle finger movements, each carrying layered meaning. Conversation can happen across open space, through crowds, or in situations where sound must be minimized. In these cultures, gesture becomes both communication and art, linking physical expression with memory and shared understanding. Parrots can create new sound combinations they were never directly taught. Unlike many animals that simply mimic fixed sounds, parrots can rearrange learned elements into entirely new sequences. This flexibility reflects both advanced vocal control and strong social intelligence. When interacting with others, parrots may invent new calls inspired by familiar sounds, blending rhythms and altering tones in ways that resemble improvisation. These new sounds can spread within a group, becoming part of a shared vocal repertoire. Young parrots experiment continuously, refining their sounds through repetition and feedback. Their communication becomes a space of creativity, revealing minds engaged in ongoing exploration. Wolves sing in layered harmonies that reinforce group identity. When a pack howls, each wolf contributes a slightly different tone, creating a chorus that sounds larger than any individual voice. These overlapping sounds help the group appear stronger to distant listeners. At the same time, howling strengthens internal bonds, allowing wolves to maintain connection across large territories. Each voice carries subtle clues about identity, age, and emotional state, enabling recognition even at a distance. Young wolves learn to harmonize gradually, weaving their voices into the collective sound. Over time, each pack develops a unique acoustic signature, a shared voice that binds them together through sound. Some languages can express entire sentences within a single word. In these linguistic systems, what appears to be one compact unit may actually contain a full story. Speakers combine many small elements of meaning into a single, flowing structure. Each part adds detail about who is involved, what is happening, how, where, and even why. A single word can encode subject, object, time, direction, emotion, and intention, all spoken in one breath. Children raised in these environments grow accustomed to hearing these complex forms and gradually learn to recognize the smaller pieces within them. This style of language allows speakers to adjust nuance by adding or removing elements, like shaping a living structure. Though compact on the surface, these words contain rich internal architecture that rewards careful listening. Fireflies communicate using patterns of light. On warm evenings, their bodies glow like tiny lanterns, flashing in meaningful sequences. Each pulse of light is created through a precise chemical reaction,
controlled with remarkable timing. Members of the same species share characteristic rhythms, allowing them to recognize one another among countless glowing signals. In some regions, large groups of fireflies synchronize their flashes, creating waves of light that ripple through entire forests. This coordination happens without a leader. Each insect subtly adjusts its timing in response to its neighbors. Females observe these patterns and respond with carefully timed flashes of their own, creating a delicate exchange of signals. The night becomes a living conversation, written in brief bursts of soft illumination. Humans often detect emotion in a voice before understanding the words. When someone begins to speak, your brain first registers qualities like pitch, intensity, and tone. These signals travel quickly to regions of the brain that evaluate emotional meaning. Within moments, you may sense whether the speaker is calm, tense, joyful, or uncertain, even before processing the actual content.
This early perception shapes how you respond, preparing your attention and expectations in advance. Voices become emotional landscapes, and your mind reads them continuously for signs of safety, warmth, or tension. Certain monkeys combine calls to create new meanings. In some forests, groups of primates string together different calls in specific sequences. Each sound may represent a basic idea, such as movement, danger, or location. When combined in a particular order, these sounds create more complex messages that guide group behavior. The same sounds, arranged differently, do not produce the same response, showing that sequence matters. Young monkeys learn these combinations by observing adults and practicing over time. This suggests that the roots of structured communication may extend deeper into evolutionary history than once believed. Jellyfish create subtle pressure waves as they move through water. Each gentle contraction of their bodies pushes water backward, sending faint signals through the surrounding environment. To human eyes, this appears as slow drifting, but to other marine creatures, these pulses carry information. Fish and other animals can detect slight changes in pressure, sensing size, movement, and direction without needing to see the jellyfish. Movement itself becomes a form of communication, shaping how creatures interact within the water. Some human languages include click sounds unlike anything else. These sounds are produced by creating small pockets of suction within the mouth and releasing them with precision. Speakers coordinate tongue, lips, and airflow to produce sharp, distinct tones that function as part of everyday speech. Different types of clicks carry different meanings, depending on how and where they are formed. Though difficult for outsiders to learn, children raised in these languages master them naturally. This shows how flexible the human vocal system truly is, capable of far more variety than most people realize.
Ravens adjust their calls depending on who is listening. These birds live in complex social groups and adapt their vocal behavior accordingly. A gentle call may be used to invite a trusted companion, while harsher sounds may warn rivals to stay away. When others are nearby, ravens may even disguise information to prevent competitors from discovering food sources. Over time, individuals learn the vocal patterns of others, building memories of trust, cooperation, or rivalry. Their calls become records of social history
as well as tools for present communication. Some ants communicate through rhythmic vibrations. In dark underground tunnels where sound does not travel easily, ants use tapping to send messages. They strike surfaces with parts of their bodies, creating tiny vibrations that spread through soil and plant material. Other ants detect these signals through sensitive receptors, interpreting them as instructions. Different rhythms may signal danger, request help, or coordinate movement. The entire colony becomes a network connected through subtle physical signals, allowing complex coordination without sound. Human brains can repair broken speech without conscious effort. When a word is interrupted or partially hidden by noise, your mind fills in the missing pieces automatically. You often believe you heard the complete word, even when parts were missing. This process happens so quickly that it feels seamless, blending memory and expectation with incoming sound. Communication becomes a collaboration between imperfect signals and a highly capable brain. Bats share information about food using specialized calls. In the darkness of night, they navigate through echolocation while also communicating with one another. When a bat finds a rich source of food, it may produce calls that attract others. These signals vary depending on the abundance of resources, encouraging or limiting competition.
Young bats learn these patterns by following experienced individuals, gradually understanding which sounds signal opportunity. The night sky becomes a network of voices, guiding movement through sound. Some languages change dramatically depending on social status. In certain cultures, the way a person speaks shifts entirely depending on who they are addressing. A single idea may take on completely different vocabulary, grammar, and rhythm when spoken to a child, an elder, a stranger, or a respected member of the community. Speakers learn to move fluidly between these forms, adjusting their speech throughout the day without conscious effort. These are not minor changes. Entire verb systems, pronouns, and expressions may transform depending on social context. Children absorb this complexity early, learning through observation how language reflects respect, hierarchy, and connection. Speech becomes a living reflection of relationships, revealing meaning even before the content is fully understood. Whistled languages can carry across vast mountain landscapes. In regions where valleys stretch for great distances, communities have developed systems of communication based entirely on whistles. These tones travel much farther than spoken words, gliding across cliffs and ridges with surprising clarity. People can exchange messages across distances that would otherwise take hours to travel. Shepherds call to one another across open land. Families share news from one hillside to another. Learning these systems requires precise control of pitch and rhythm, as small changes in tone can alter meaning completely. These traditions demonstrate how humans adapt language to their environment, turning geography itself into part of communication. Some frogs use ultrasonic calls that humans cannot hear. In rainforests and near flowing water, certain species produce sounds far beyond the range of human hearing. These high-frequency signals allow them to communicate in environments filled with noise from water and insects. Lower sounds might be lost, but these higher frequencies
cut through the soundscape clearly. Females detect these signals with specialized hearing, navigating toward them through dense vegetation. Though silent to us, these calls form a rich layer of communication just beyond our perception. Humans naturally adjust their voice depending on social context. Throughout the day, people shift tone, pitch, and rhythm depending on who they are speaking with. Voices soften when offering comfort, brighten when addressing children, and become more measured in formal situations. In groups, people often match the tone of others, synchronizing speech to build connection. These changes happen automatically, shaped by deeply learned social patterns. The human voice becomes an instrument that adapts continuously, reflecting emotion, intention, and social awareness. Some cultures use melody instead of fixed words to communicate. In rare traditions, meaning is carried through patterns of rising and falling pitch rather than stable vocabulary. Each melodic pattern represents an idea, much like a musical phrase. These systems often develop in environments where sound must travel far or remain subtle. Listeners learn to interpret small differences in tone, duration, and repetition, building a rich understanding through sound alone. Communication becomes a blend of music and meaning, revealing the creative range of human expression. Elephants can recognize the voices of many individuals over great distances. Across forests and open landscapes, they use low rumbling calls that travel through air and ground. Within these sounds are subtle variations that allow elephants to identify who is calling. A matriarch may recognize relatives from far away simply by the texture of their voice. Young elephants grow up learning these differences, building a memory of voices that supports social bonds and cooperation. These long-distance connections help groups stay coordinated even when separated by large distances. Certain languages must be learned in early childhood to be fully mastered. Some linguistic systems contain features so subtle and complex that they are easiest to acquire during early development. Adults can learn them, but may struggle with the finest distinctions. Children, however, absorb these patterns naturally through exposure, without conscious effort. This reveals that the human brain passes through sensitive periods when learning certain structures is easier. Sea lions can remember vocal patterns for many years. Within crowded colonies, individuals develop unique rhythms that act like acoustic signatures. These patterns allow them to recognize one another even after long separations. When a familiar rhythm is heard again, recognition can happen instantly, showing the strength of long-term auditory memory. This ability helps maintain social bonds in environments where many individuals gather closely together. Humans communicate entire messages through eye movement alone. Even before words are spoken, the eyes reveal intention, attention, and emotion. A glance can invite, warn, or connect. A shift in gaze can signal awareness or direction. In crowded spaces, people coordinate movement through subtle eye cues without speaking at all. These signals are processed instantly, drawing on deep social instincts shared across cultures. Some insects create complex chemical trails that act like stories. As they move, They leave behind scent paths that describe where food is located, how fresh it is, and how to return home. These trails can branch, overlap, and change over time, forming detailed maps that guide entire colonies. Each trace carries layered information that others can read and respond to. Communication unfolds across space, written not in sound, but in scent. Songbirds often improvise variations within their songs. While each species has a general structure, individuals add unique elements shaped by experience and creativity. They may extend certain notes, introduce pauses, or shift pitch in subtle ways. These variations can influence mate choice and drive ongoing innovation across generations. The forest becomes a dynamic soundscape filled with both tradition and invention. Some languages include sounds produced deep within the throat. In certain regions, speakers use consonants that originate far below the typical range of everyday speech. These sounds are created by narrowing or vibrating structures in the upper throat, requiring precise muscular control. To unfamiliar ears, they may seem unusual, almost like internal resonance rather than spoken language. Yet for native speakers, they are as clear and meaningful as any other sound. Children learn them early through careful listening and imitation, gradually mastering movements that become natural with time. These sounds reflect the remarkable adaptability of the human vocal system, showing how language can explore every possible part of the body. Bees can sense the emotional state of their colony through vibration. Inside a hive, thousands of bees move together, creating a constant field of subtle motion. These vibrations are not random. They form a complex web of information that bees can detect through specialized organs in their legs and bodies. When foragers return with abundant nectar, their energetic movement spreads excitement through the hive. If danger approaches, sharper, more urgent vibrations alert others before the threat is even seen. Different patterns of motion reflect different states of the colony, allowing coordination without centralized control. Humans learn languages more effectively through stories than through memorization. When language is embedded in narrative, the brain connects words to emotion, imagery, and meaning. Instead of isolated facts, each word becomes part of a larger experience. Stories provide repetition without boredom, allowing patterns to appear naturally in different contexts. This strengthens memory and deepens understanding. Even adults who struggle with traditional learning often absorb language more easily through storytelling. Certain primates develop regional accents. Groups of the same species can sound noticeably different depending on where they live. These differences are not genetic, but learned through social interaction. Young individuals imitate the vocal patterns of those around them, gradually shaping their own calls to match. Over time, these variations become stable markers of group identity. Cats have evolved vocal signals that capture human attention. Domestic cats have adapted their sounds to align with human perception. One of their most effective calls
blends a soft purring vibration with a higher pitched tone similar to an infant's cry. This combination is difficult for humans to ignore, triggering an automatic response. Cats refine these sounds over time, adjusting them based on how people react. This reveals a subtle form of interspecies communication shaped by shared living. Humans create entire communication systems using color and symbols. Throughout history, people have developed visual languages that operate independently of speech. These systems appear in textiles, signals, artwork, and symbolic writing. Each color or pattern carries meaning, often influenced by arrangement and repetition. These visual systems can convey emotion, instruction, or cultural identity without a single spoken word. Whales maintain cultural dialects passed between generations. Their calls are not purely instinctive, but learned and shared within groups. Young whales adopt the vocal patterns of their pod, gradually shaping their own sounds to match.
Over time, these dialects evolve as individuals introduce small variations that spread through the group. When different pods meet, elements of their vocal culture may blend, creating new patterns. Spiders communicate through vibrations in their webs. When a potential mate approaches, it sends rhythmic signals along the silk threads. These vibrations differ from those produced by prey or wind, allowing the female to interpret intention. Each movement carries meaning, turning the web into a sensitive communication network. Some languages contain words that cannot be directly translated. These terms often reflect specific cultural experiences, emotions, or environments. They may combine multiple layers of meaning that require long explanations in other languages. Such words reveal how language shapes thought, offering insight into different ways of understanding the world. Horses communicate emotion through subtle body signals. The position of their ears and the rhythm of their breathing reveal attention, mood, and intention. A forward ear may signal curiosity, while a backward tilt can indicate discomfort. Breathing patterns also convey information, from calm exhalations to sharp warning sounds. Together, these signals form a quiet but precise system of communication. Some human languages are whistled to remain hidden in dense environments. In forested regions, people developed whistled versions of speech that blend into natural sounds. These signals can travel long distances without revealing the speaker's location. Children learn both spoken and whistled forms, switching between them as needed. Gorillas can invent new gestures that spread through their group. A single individual may create a unique movement that others begin to imitate. Over time, the gesture becomes part of the group's shared behavior. Different groups can develop entirely different sets of gestures, even within the same species.
Some cultures describe time through the landscape rather than clocks. Instead of hours and minutes, time is expressed through natural changes. People may refer to the moment when birds begin to sing, or when sunlight reaches a mountain peak. This creates a sense of time deeply connected to the environment. Ant colonies operate using complex chemical communication. Each scent carries layered meaning about direction, danger, or opportunity. When combined, these signals allow the colony to behave as a coordinated whole.
Decisions emerge from the interaction of many individuals rather than a single leader. Humans interpret tiny pauses in speech as meaningful signals. Even brief silences can convey hesitation, confidence, or emotion. These pauses shape conversation, adding meaning beyond the words themselves. Dolphins coordinate group hunting using sound. They exchange signals about direction, speed, and movement, creating a shared strategy. Through this communication, they act as a unified group, increasing their success. Some languages prioritize relationships over objects when naming things. In these systems, the identity of an object depends on how it relates to the speaker and listener. A simple item may be described differently depending on who owns it, who gives it, or who receives it. Even directions may shift based on the position of those involved rather than fixed coordinates. This reflects a worldview in which connection matters more than isolated definition. Birds use visual displays as complex as spoken language. Across forests and coastlines, many species communicate through posture, movement, and color. A raised crest, a wing movement, or a sequence of steps can convey emotion, intention, or identity. These displays are learned and refined over time, forming a rich visual language without sound. Some cultures use different languages depending on the season. One form of speech may be used during planting, another during winter rituals, and another during migration. Each language reflects the activities, beliefs, and rhythms of that time of year. Children grow up moving naturally between them, aligning language with the cycle of nature. Gibbons sing in coordinated pairs to strengthen bonds. High in the canopy, pairs produce duets that blend into a single, flowing melody. Each partner contributes a distinct part, creating harmony that signals unity to others. These songs reinforce relationships and establish territory at the same time. Some writing systems encode meaning directly without representing sound. In these systems, symbols carry ideas rather than pronunciation. A single character may contain layers of meaning, understood visually rather than phonetically. This allows communication across groups that do not share the same spoken language. Elephants use low-frequency sounds that travel through the ground. These vibrations allow communication across great distances. Other elephants detect them through sensitive receptors, interpreting both direction and emotion. This creates a hidden network of communication beneath the surface. Humans use scent as an unspoken form of communication. Each person carries a unique chemical signature, influenced by biology and emotion. Others can detect subtle changes in scent, responding to stress, familiarity, or comfort without conscious awareness. Some languages change structure depending on the speaker's emotional state. Grammar itself may shift to reflect feeling. Word order, verb forms, or markers may adapt to express vulnerability, urgency, or affection. In these systems, emotion is not added to language, but built into it. Dolphins can modify their signature calls when forming alliances. Their personal whistles may shift slightly to reflect new social bonds. These changes signal connection and cooperation within the group. Birds living in crowded environments adjust their songs to avoid overlap. They change pitch or timing so their calls stand out. This allows individuals to be heard clearly even in dense soundscapes. Some languages do not divide time into past, present, and future. Instead, events are described through context and relationship. This creates a view of time as fluid and continuous rather than segmented. Primates use touch as a detailed form of communication. Grooming, contact, and pressure all carry meaning. Through touch, they build trust, resolve conflict, and maintain social bonds. Some languages are spoken only during sacred rituals. These forms of speech preserve cultural memory and spiritual meaning. They may be used only at specific times, creating a deep connection between language and tradition. Wolves use scent marking to communicate territory and identity. Each mark carries information about strength, health, and presence. Other wolves read these signals to avoid conflict or understand boundaries. Humans rely on facial micro-expressions as a parallel language. Tiny movements of the eyes and mouth reveal emotion and intention. These signals are processed instantly, often without awareness. Some birds use tools to create rhythmic sounds. They tap objects to produce patterns that communicate identity or attract mates. This behavior shows creativity and problem-solving in communication. Frogs produce calls that are detectable only by their own species. These signals avoid interference in environments filled with noise. This creates a hidden channel of communication within a crowded soundscape. Humans can recognize familiar voices after hearing only a few sounds. The brain stores detailed acoustic patterns that allow instant identification. This ability strengthens social connection and memory. Some languages do not use verb tenses. Instead, time is understood through context and shared knowledge. This encourages focus on relationships and experience rather than strict chronology. Elephants communicate reproductive states through subtle, low-frequency calls. Female elephants produce gentle vocal signals that reveal changes in their internal cycles. These sounds travel over long distances, allowing males to sense readiness even when the female is far from view. The signals carry information about physical condition and emotional state, reducing conflict by guiding behavior before direct contact occurs. Young elephants observe these interactions and gradually learn how sound, movement, and scent combine during social life. Some insects use wing vibrations as intricate courtship communication. Rather than relying only on color or scent, they produce rhythmic pulses through rapid wing movement. Each vibration pattern carries meaning, signaling presence, readiness, or compatibility. Females often evaluate males based on the quality and consistency of these signals, choosing partners whose patterns reflect strength and coordination. Humans can sense emotional tension through breathing patterns in speech. The rhythm of breath behind words reveals stress, calmness, hesitation, or excitement. A tight breath creates tension in the voice, while a steady breath produces a sense of ease and confidence. Listeners respond to these cues instinctively, often adjusting their own breathing in response. Dolphins coordinate group movement using rapid bursts of sound. These pulses function like real-time instructions, allowing individuals to adjust direction and speed instantly. Through this system, the group moves as a unified whole, reacting fluidly to changes in the environment. Some languages include body orientation as part of grammar. In these systems, the direction a speaker faces is not optional. Turning toward a landmark or toward the listener can change the meaning of a sentence. Posture becomes an essential component of communication, blending language with physical space. Crickets adjust their rhythm depending on temperature. As the air warms, their movements speed up, producing faster sounds. In cooler conditions, their rhythm slows. This creates a communication system that reflects environmental conditions, allowing individuals to stay synchronized. Humans signal social hierarchy through subtle changes in speech rhythm. Slower, more controlled pacing can suggest authority, while quicker, rising patterns may signal uncertainty. These adjustments happen automatically, shaping interaction without explicit awareness. Birds in large colonies develop unique calls that function like names. Each individual produces a slightly different pattern, allowing recognition among thousands of voices. Parents and offspring rely on these signals to find one another in crowded environments. Some cultures use whispered languages for privacy or secrecy. These systems maintain full grammar while reducing sound to soft airflow. They allow communication in close spaces without attracting attention. Whales navigate using sound-based maps of the ocean. By sending out calls and listening to returning echoes, they build detailed mental images of their environment. These acoustic maps guide migration across vast distances. Humans detect stress through tiny changes in vocal pitch. Even slight increases in pitch can signal tension, and listeners respond instinctively. These cues often appear before words reveal anything directly. Some languages use breathiness as a meaningful sound. Airy vocal tones can change the meaning of words or indicate social nuance. Speakers learn to control airflow precisely to produce these distinctions. Fish create sounds using internal body movements. These signals help coordinate behavior, attract mates, or defend territory. Each species develops its own unique patterns within the underwater soundscape. Humans automatically adjust vocabulary depending on their listener. When speaking to a child, an expert, or a stranger, people naturally change word choice and tone. This adaptation strengthens communication and reflects social awareness. Some monkeys actively teach their young how to use calls. Adults repeat sounds in calm settings, allowing juveniles to learn structure and context. Through practice and correction, young individuals develop accurate communication. Bird pairs sing coordinated duets to mark territory. Each partner contributes to a shared pattern, signaling strength and unity. These duets evolve over time, reflecting the bond between individuals. Humans communicate shared understanding through silence. A pause can express agreement, reflection, or emotion more clearly than words. Silence becomes part of the conversation, carrying meaning in the spaces between speech. Some languages do not mark plural forms for objects.
In these systems, a word remains the same whether it refers to one item or many. Instead of changing the word itself, speakers rely on context, additional expressions, or shared understanding to convey quantity. This approach shifts attention away from counting and toward relationships, shape, and presence. Spiders use individual vibration patterns during courtship. When a male approaches a female's web, he produces a unique rhythmic signal. This pattern reflects his size, strength, and coordination. The female interprets these vibrations through the frets, responding differently depending on the quality of the signal. Each interaction becomes a delicate exchange of identity and intention carried through touch. Humans can estimate a person's age from their voice alone. Subtle differences in tone, rhythm, and articulation reveal stages of life. Children speak with lighter resonance, adults with fuller tones, and older individuals with slight changes in breath and control.
Listeners detect these variations quickly, often without realizing it. Some languages require every sentence to include a marker of social relationship. These markers indicate respect, familiarity, or emotional closeness. Choosing the wrong form can create discomfort, while the correct one reinforces harmony. Children spend years learning these distinctions, understanding that language reflects connection as much as information. Dolphins use echoes to describe objects in their environment. By emitting clicks and analyzing returning sound waves, they can detect shape, texture, and movement. They share this information with others through subtle variations in their signals. This creates a shared acoustic perception of the world. Humans create entire fictional languages. In stories and creative work, people design complete systems of grammar, sound, and meaning. These constructed languages support imagined worlds, cultures, and histories. They demonstrate that language is not only inherited, but also invented. Some languages are designed to be spoken very quickly. Their structure allows rapid communication without losing clarity. Listeners develop the ability to process meaning at high speed, adapting to the rhythm of their culture. Bats maintain social order through complex vocal communication. Within crowded roosts, they use layered sounds to guide spacing, movement, and interaction. Each sound carries meaning shaped by pitch and rhythm, helping individuals coexist in tight spaces. Humans communicate intention through gesture before speaking. A shift in posture, a raised hand, or a lean forward can signal what someone is about to do. These signals often appear before conscious thought, allowing others to anticipate actions. Some languages use different vocabularies for day and night. Words change depending on time, reflecting different activities, emotions, and social roles. This creates a linguistic rhythm aligned with the cycle of the day. Elephants make group decisions through shared vocal signals. Individuals contribute low-frequency sounds that express preference. As patterns emerge, the group moves together, forming a collective decision without a single leader. Humans detect sarcasm through rhythm alone. Changes in pacing and emphasis reveal meaning even when words appear sincere. This ability develops early and helps navigate social nuance. Some languages contain ritual words that hold entire stories. A single term may carry deep cultural meaning, understood fully only within the right context. These words act as condensed forms of memory and tradition. Whales communicate across entire oceans using long-range calls. These sounds travel vast distances, linking distant groups into loose networks. Through these signals, whales maintain connection across space and time. Humans express trust through vocal warmth. A softer tone, steady pitch, and relaxed breath signal safety and sincerity. Listeners respond instinctively, forming emotional bonds through sound alone. Some species create new signals when old ones no longer serve their purpose. In changing environments, communication must adapt. When a call or gesture becomes less effective, individuals may begin experimenting with variations. If these new signals prove useful, others adopt them, and over time, they replace the old forms. This process shows that communication is not fixed, but evolves alongside the world itself. Humans reshape memory each time they tell a story. When recalling an event, the mind does not simply retrieve it, but rebuilds it. Certain details are emphasized, others fade, and new meaning is added through language. With each retelling, memory becomes a blend of past experience and present interpretation. Storytelling becomes a tool not only for sharing, but for shaping how we understand our own lives.
And now, as we reach the end of this quiet journey through the world of language, allow yourself to drift into the calm space that follows learning. You have explored voices, gestures, vibrations, and invisible signals that connect living beings across distance and time. Each idea was a small window into the many ways minds reach toward one another, shaping meaning through sound, movement, and imagination. Now there is nothing more to remember. Just breathe slowly and let your thoughts settle like dust in a warm beam of evening light. If you enjoyed this gentle exploration, you are welcome to like the video, subscribe to the channel, or leave a soft thought below. It helps these calm journeys reach others who may need a quiet place to rest their minds. New stories are always on the way, each one opening another peaceful corner of science and wonder. For now, let your shoulders relax. Let your breathing slow. Allow the darkness around you to become soft and comforting. A place where nothing is required. The world can wait until morning. You have done enough for today. Close your eyes if you have not already. Let the last traces of wakefulness gently fade. Let your thoughts dissolve into stillness. Good night.